This is a big week for Explore Tulsa, especially if you're Tulsa tough and make the big bike ride.
That's right, Stevie. Thousands of cyclists hit the northeast Oklahoma hills, covering nearly 400 miles.
Those guys are fast, too. Covering that distance, I'd be definitely in need of an emergency help of ICEdot.
ICEdot is quickly becoming an important resource for adventurous athletes everywhere. And Chris is here to best tell us about everything it can do.
We're out to make safety cool, right? I mean, we're dealing with people who, physically fit, they want to look good, they want to wear the latest stuff, and it's like, safety is not always one of those things that people get real excited about, right? I mean, it wasn't until 20 years ago that people started wearing helmets normally while cycling, and then for us, it's been a position of how do we make providing emergency response information a kind of a standardized thing that people just do. When I'm out at a ski resort and I see a sensor out there and I'm like, I don't know that person, like they just bought our product, I see one in the wild. So it's very exciting for us to see the adoption of the product and really on a global scale. I mean, we have distribution throughout Europe, Australia, South Africa, all over North America. So it's exciting. We can go pretty much anywhere in the world and come across our stuff. My name is Chris Zintafer. I'm the CEO of ICEdot. The company is kind of an evolution of several different ideas. It was originally started in 2004 as a company called DocVia that created health software. And so our original health software was rolled out here in Tulsa, was used by St. John's for a long time to manage online appointments. You could get your prescription refilled, those sorts of things. And as the company kind of progressed along, we started thinking about, well, how do you share this information with first responders in an emergency, right? How does your health information get into the hands of, say, for instance, IMSA? And so we worked to solve that problem by creating basically patient-owned data. So you pre-specify the information, and then we actually worked with IMSA to come up with what is the best way that they work for accessing this type of data. How can we make it both legal for them to use and conveniently accessible? So the company, we kind of reworked the idea and took it to the athletic sector. The crash sensor was kind of the next evolution of our company, and that's a product we launched this last year. It detects major head trauma, and in case of emergency, it will sound an alarm and notify your emergency contacts of your GPS coordinates. I met a gentleman named Bijou Thomas, who is a chef for a lot of the pro cycling teams, and he had wrecked his bike and was like, well, all of that is great, but what happens if I'm alone and nobody knows where I am? And so he had this idea of, can we develop something that calls for help? And so we've been collaborating with him and a group of people in Denver, Colorado for a couple of years now on the prototyping and development of the sensor, and then launched it last year, the product has gotten a lot of international acclaim as kind of a top product for cyclists and for skiers. The first part of our product is registering a profile. So that's who you are, what you want known about you in case of emergency. So it might be medications, allergies, chronic conditions, and then as well as emergency contacts. So you plug in that information to our system, it's all web-based. Then once you have an ICEdot profile, you can sync it to a sensor. So the sensor is kind of the second step of our service, which is really the first part being emergency identification, which is passive, like what information am I sharing in case of emergency, whereas the sensor is the active, okay, something has happened, how do I get help? The sensor pairs with that same profile. You download an app on your phone, and then you log into your ICEdot account with the app and then connect the sensor to it. So yeah, the process is creating a profile first and then syncing products to it. And so you can actually have a lot of ICEdot products. You can have multiple helmets, you can move sensors from helmet to helmet. We make products like bands, obviously the helmet companies, and you can link all of those to your profile. So you can have a bunch of different things linked to you. We've had a few early success stories. One was a gentleman in Australia was hit by a car, and he went into the ditch and was left there. The car did not stop, and his wife received the emergency text message, and she came and got him and took him to the hospital. Our tagline is adventure responsibly. So it's like, hey, a lot of us have day jobs, we have families, we love to go adventure, and so it's like a safety net so that you can go out and do these things and still get back home to your family and meet your responsibilities.